chases, the last chases. Well, actually, through the Colossals. So be prepared. We're probably going to deal with a two-parter. If I see it's going that way, I'll do a two-parter. So anyway, first off, we have the Ball and Chain and Thunderball, Blood Axe, Executioner, Frognair, Throg, Frey with Balder, Enchanted Crowbar with Wrecker, Mirror of Masolja with Enchantress, Molnir from Chase Thor number 61, Thunderstrike and Thunderstrike, Stormbreaker with Beta Ray Bill, Casket of Ancient Winters, Malekith, Loki Staff with Chase Loki, Dragon Fang with Valkyrie, the Hammer from Suitor, the Mace from Ymir, the Axe in Carnage, the Healing Casket, Miss Marvel, number 2, Loki, number 19, Iron Man, Jane Foster, number 22, Eric Masterson, Thor, Iron Rocket Man, Thor Buster, Zarko the Tomorrow Man, Ajax, Volstagg, Thor Odinson title character, Loki Agent of Asgard, Super Rare Hulk, Angela, and Unimind. Yeah. Deep pockets, man. Deep pockets. And what I read off to you is my personal wants and desire buy list, which I am glad I went to Origins because I sold off enough stuff to pay for half of it. Literally just about half of it. And I still dropped a lot of money. And again, I'm doing week 1 prices. Now, I know most of you are like, Edward, aren't you the guy that's like, don't buy week 1. You should hold out and you should look for, the best deals. Yes, because the product always goes down. That's 100% true. Unfortunately, I have a caveat is I'm going to Rocktober. So I need to make sure that I need to get the figures that I need for myself or other teammates. And the other problem that also comes in is the high amount of allocation that has been taking place like all over the country. Now, I've talked to some people whose stores got exactly their order, like my teammate KJ. They got exactly their order. Whereas my store, we got half of our order and a quarter of our starters. So when I look at that situation, on the other hand, there is a distinct shortage. And I think also my teammate, Wes, his store that he goes to, they got their full shipment. Now, I'm prefacing that, hey, if your store got a wall of product, literally they could stack it up and make a 12-year-old fort with it, full of Thor boosters and cases and stuff, you're lucky. I don't know, whose back did you rub at Diamond and Alliance, but buddy, you all did a good job. You got everything that you wanted. Okay? A lot of other people aren't like that. All right, so there's that. Also, as per requested from my friend Jake, when you're buying out there, please make sure that if you're buying a character for their weapon or the character in the weapon, make sure that the weapon is coming with the character. There's a lot of people that sort of took Cool Stuff and Strike Zone and a few others, Q, and selling the weapons independently. I know I bought some, not going to front. Some of those chases, some of those Colossals, I just wasn't going to buy. Not for a basic weapon. I wasn't going to do that. So just be on the lookout that practice is a practice. And people are doing this hardcore. So just, keep your eyes open and look in detail and make sure that the listing says comes with weapon. I go through the listing details very thoroughly for all my eBay shopping. And I really do think that this is a set where buyer needs to beware very, very serious on that. Buyer beware, because you can get hustled. You can get hustled really easily. And oh yeah, I just realized I didn't talk about Colossals for my list. And so if you're still listening, from the Colossal standpoint, Carnage, Mangog, Miss Marvel, if you're feeling frosty. I know some people will say, like, what about Ymir and Sorter? They're not bad. They aren't bad. I just don't see them being played. And you might say, well, why Miss Marvel? Well, she's going to fill that void left by the Atom when he retires. That's why. So when the Atom retires, you want another like nice 15-point Colossal Retaliator, and she's it, and she has a 10 movement, so she carries somebody that's 9, functionally 11 if you do some weird placement shenanigans. So she's not a bad transporter either. So that's why I look at her for her cost and what she does. She is really, really good. So, but yeah, that's why. All right, so let's get into today's show. Let's start breaking some things down. I'm going to start like I normally do. I'm going to start with the commons, and we're going to go through the Colossals. All right, first off, I like the common Thor. I think that he has a place as a taxi, because you got to look at you're moving 7 when carrying instead of 6. But his stats are okay. He has charge and quake, and he's guaranteed to get 1 little damage in. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. In actuality, he has Avengers Team ability, and with the new Avengers Team ability, he's going to move when he just does a move action. He doesn't really feel the effects of carrying. So you can move a character 8. So I really like that. All right, so Loki. This guy is on my buy list for a reason. This is stupid. Pretty much 65 points and then another 10 for God of Trickery. And that's a really important thing. You have to pay the 10 points for God of Trickery. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. At first I didn't realize that, and then later on I just said I don't care. So yeah. But God of Trickery is the main reason why Loki is good. He starts off with phasing in cap, 18 defense with 1 damage with shape change. But that shape change says, my, you just keep falling for this, don't you? Shape change. When Loki uses it and succeeds, after actions resolve, you may generate within range and line of fire a TMT 02 Loki on click 1 that appears after the orange line. So this is the cheapo ones you get. They have a 0-point value for all effects, including scoring. So they can't summon ID cards or anything like that. And the key element with the rules change is this. If you only have 0-point characters on the map, like Pogs or anything like that, and your opponent has scored everything on the map except for all those 0-point elements, the game is over. You lose. Okay, so that's something to be mindful about. And I think the main reason they did this is to deal with any future don't die like characters they may or may not make. Okay. Now, why do I like this? Number one, you can spawn guys at infinitum. And the number of Lokis that you generate is depending on the number of Lokis that you have and how many times you roll shape change. Also, if your opponent by chance kills one of these little Joker Lokis, so what? So what? They scored 0 points. And if they fail to, score those points, score a Loki or kill a Loki, guess what? You're just spawning more Lokis. And so, the 1 damage, yeah, okay. that can, make people feel a little bit negative. But realistically, there are several game effects that come in and make these suckers really good, like the Captain America from the Con season. He's great working with a bunch of Lokis. You can find any number of Asgardian mystical or deity leaderships as well, and they are great. And so that's the thing that I think is also interesting. Now, the one element that I really want to know is, it says here in God of Trickery, during force construction, you may add 2 TMT Lokis to your starting force. So they are characters, okay, that appear after the orange KO line. It has a 0-point value for all effects. Now, there's nothing, it's still a character. I don't know what they're going to rule for WizKids, but I'm just going to say right now, they are still a character on your starting force or during force. I don't know if during force construction. So, since they're still characters for during force construction, even though their point value is 0, you could have an ID card for those characters. Now, you are paying a 5 to 5, 5 points to 5, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio for the ID card. But, again, hear me out when I say this. I don't think that will stand in the long term. I think in the immediate future, you can pull that shenanigans. But I definitely think we need to get a clarification on that. All right, you have a stop click, which is this no longer amuses me. Invulnerable. Each time this click is revealed, KO all other friendly TMT 02 Lokis. This is why you do not want to play multiples at 65, because you have given your opponent free points. Okay, so that's why. So otherwise, again, I think this is going to be good for roundtable tech. I think this is going to be good for game effects that multiply based off of, a number of figures, or game effects that go off if friendly characters are KO'd. I think there's a lot of cool things that you can do with these that I'm sort of sad that you're seeing like 1 per brick. Yeah, it's that low. I've talked to several people. It's on average you're seeing 1 Loki or 2 Lokis per brick. And these are commons. Now, you could say that this is a good thing because we have a lot of commons. And in comparison to some previous sets, we had 13 commons in Elseworlds, and we have 16 commons in the Mighty Thor. If we look at Deadpool, we have 16 commons. Okay, so we're about on scale for what we had in Deadpool. All right, so let's move on, because I could keep talking about this Loki all day. We're going to move down. I'm going to note that the Barroom Brawl Captain America, people have been liking it. I think it's enjoyable. I just personally feel right now he's going to have a temporary place in the meta. That's it. All right, keep going. Rock Trolls. I'm on 2 clicks from KO this weekend with Aaron Cantu, and we were debating about Rock Trolls, and I'm bringing this up because he feels Rock Trolls are really good. I was in between at the time. Having now played with a Rock Troll, I think that they have a viable place in tie-up because they're 5 clicks deep for 25 points. If you need a mini shock trooper, a Rock Troll is not a bad idea, because a Rock Troll on average is going to take 2 attacks to be KO'd. Unfortunately, there's a lot of high damage rolling around right now. So that is another element that I feel is an issue, but something to consider. Keep going down. The leader and red leader, uh, those things are really weird. So we have the leader, and he says, find a way to defeat these oaths with science. Outwit may use it a second time this turn. If the first is used to target a higher point value character, he chooses the target's current defense power. This isn't bad. You're really not getting a lot out of this because you're just getting a 6 range outwit and sidestep. He doesn't offer that much for his high point entry. But I know some people actually like him. Same thing with Red Leader. And Red Leader sounds like communist propaganda. But anyway, he has betrayed the team again or finally escape. Once per game, when Red Leader would be KO'd, you may instead give another friendly character with the Thunderbolts keyword 2 action tokens. It must have 0 action tokens. If you do, turn Red Leader to click 1. So this keeps him alive unless he gets pulse waved. But since he's 50 points for 4 clicks, he sort of needs it. So there is some survivable elements with him, but you need to play him with another Thunderbolts character. And preferably a Thunderbolts character, several Thunderbolts characters, because you just can't have somebody just sitting in the back doing nothing just to preserve Red Leader. Then you have Genius level Intellect, even if it kills me, Outwit. You get Outwit and Perplex, which you get for 50 points is not bad. Red Leader may use his Perplex as power, and if he does, modify the chosen combat values by +2 or -2 instead. There's a current debate locally here is, can Red Leader use Perplex normally, then take a power action to also use the +2 or -2? I'm not quite sure, but I am bringing it up for your own consideration. Some brief honorable mentions: King Cobra and Thena. Both of those figures aren't bad. They're just not my cup of tea. I know Thena has potentially the power to really do stupid amounts of damage. I just don't like her. I mean, a running shot 11 attack or 13 attack can be really good. So I like that. 5 damage, I like that. 19 defense, I like that. So there's a lot of cool things with her. I just don't think she offers enough for her point value. That's Nick Fury range, and while Nick Fury still exists, we have a problem. Okay. We're going to keep rolling. Now we're going to go to number 18, Thor. I like number 18, Thor. Just the Cape in Your Eyes effect. When Thor hits a single adjacent opposing character, you may choose to decrease the damage dealt by 2. If you do, that character can't move or make an attack until your next turn. So functionally, you can use this figure to lock down insanely high point characters and be annoying as all get out. And so I like this. Now, of course, he can be outwitted and the effects would go away. But I think that this as a control piece is a sneakily good control piece. Also, Eric Masterson can regress into or morph into him or transform or Shazam or whatever the heck he is going to do. All right, so I just want to bring that up. I don't like number 17, Thor. Not that I don't like Jane Foster. I think that this really only goes with the Jane Foster support Jane Foster. It's the only reason why you have this Thor. All right, I like Iron Man number 19 just for the fact of for 50 points, we're getting a 6-click character, not a 5-click character. We're getting Blaze Claw's Fangs. We're getting an okay ranged combat attack. And we also get toughness and willpower on the special defense power. And as modify Iron Man's defense by +2 when attacked by a character with the Asgardian keyword. I think you're going to see a lot of that. He's a good little. He's not a shock trooper. He's more of just a grunt. I really like him in a grunt role. Moving on. I'm disappointed with Hulk and Red Hulk. the number 20 Hulk and the Red Hulk. I'm really disappointed in those. And I really hate that She-Hulk is called Hulk. I really don't know how I feel on that. And the main reason is that I feel it's the Thor situation all over again. Is Hulk a title and not a name? You know, I really don't like that. I really don't. And I'm not going to make this political because I've already had my year quota of one political thing per year rant. So I'm not even going to get into that. Anyway, let's go to Jane Foster. Now, this one I feel is this character to me is probably going to start being a slight problem, and I also feel that Jane Foster is going to force players into a play style that we probably haven't seen in a long time. Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, what is that, Dark Logos? And it is a tank formation. Now, you might say, like, hey, we sort of have that because hyper carries are a thing, in particular overdrive and all the other stuff. And that is true. But when you go back to the classic GL tanks, one of the things and one of the core elements that they had was usually a support, literally a Jane Foster or a paramedic who was Jane Foster in the back healing the Green Lantern as they used trick shot to shoot through freaking hand ninjas and PD guys that were, allowing them to do stupid damage with, RCE. Now, the main reason I feel that this is going to be a thing is because we do have some decent Green Lanterns that could do Green Lantern tank things. And I brought this up in the Elseworlds, that the Green Lantern Batman functionally could be a Green Lantern tank if you did try to build him like that. I'm not saying it's the best meta option in the game, but if you want to go into a locals and be like, yeah, I'm doing this, homie, then that is a thing to consider. And she will fit in that tactic really well. My concern is that we have all these little point attackers that her trait that makes it so that she can't be targeted by characters 75 points or more for an attack matters, but it doesn't matter because, again, we've gotten like all these cheap guys, and I hate to keep beating, this dead gorilla, but the super apes are dumb, really dumb for their points. The serpent men are really dumb for their points, and they're really strong, and they have a lot of great elements that they provide to the game right now. And if I look at those things, I gotta be honest, there's a high incentive to play more cheapo little guys now than before. Okay, and I say incentive; it's not mandatory, and I want to make that clear. And that's one positive thing that I feel is going on right now, that there isn't a lot of mandatory must-play characters out of the set. And then please note when I say a lot, I didn't say there weren't any. There just aren't a lot. All right, let's go ahead and move on just a bit, and we're going to look at Eric Masterson. Also, real quick, I think Jane Foster can, yes. Here we go. And this is the other thing. When a Jason-friendly character is KO'd by an opponent's attack, and this is the key thing, after action resolve, you may roll d6 and replace Jane Foster with TMT number 17 Thor on a click equal to the result. Now, that Thor only exists on a 1 through 6. But also, please note, there's nothing stopping you from healing this Thor. please, I'm telling you all this because I've lived through this stuff with the team bases. There is nothing saying that this is your starting line. Okay? And if you roll a 1 with this situation, yeah, bring out that crappy rock dice that spurned your soul, and roll it. And then it's going to probably roll a 1 or a 2 for you. And you have a very beefy 100-point character stat bump. You have added 70 points to your force for free. Now you would say, but a friendly character has been KO'd, and here's the other problem with this thing. Oh man, they didn't think this one through. This would also trigger on Pogs. This would trigger on Pogs. So as long as you're adjacent to the Pog, you could activate multiple Jane Fosters. Yeah, I did just say that. So I again, like I said, I think this character is going to potentially change the game. I just feel that it's not doing something stupid. Like the adjacent healing is nice. Even when you're adjacent to opposing characters, that's nice. But realistically, I gotta say this: when they allowed her to promote the ability to promote it, I think that was probably a bad idea. Now, this is again not a political statement, but just more of an observational statement. I really would want cancer patient Jane Foster, not hot chick Jane Foster. And I think that would have been a great thing because it would have inspired people going through cancer. And I also think it would have been nice because having that version of her represented, we really haven't had that. But we're seeing her like perfect form of super idealized Nordic version all the time now. But I would have thought that WizKids would have put out, sick cancer patient Jane Foster. But, whatever. All right, so this isn't a podcast about sculpts. This is a podcast about heroclix. All right, let's real briefly talk about Valkyrie, even though I really don't want to. Number 25 Valkyrie, but I think I need to bring it up, and I'll go back to Eric Masterson. Long history of being manipulated. Friendly characters can use mind control to target Valkyrie. If they do, and the character is named Enchantress or L'Oreal, and Valkyrie is hit, modify her combat values by +1 until your next turn. This can be potentially good for her low point value because then you could charge for 5, have 11 attack with blades, 18 defense, and 3 damage up front, plus Defender's team ability. If you're using one of those specific mind controllers. Otherwise, it's just a charge Blaze Claw's Fangs that you can mind control. They go off. Actually, yeah, they'll go off and attack. They can't use Blaze Claw's Fangs. They could just go off and attack. So I think that's interesting, mainly because I also think this is interesting for another reason. You can mind control her they can move up to half their movement, I think, with the new mind control, and make an attack. So move her up 4 and then have her charge from there, and she can just get the drop on people. So I just want to point out I'm not pro this, but I do see it as a valid strategy. And the only reason I want to bring it up before Eric Masterson is just I wanted a break between, hey, look, a lady that can promote, and hey, look, a guy that can promote. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Eric Masterson. Now, Eric Masterson, in my opinion, is probably going to be another one of those characters that you're going to see pop up And the main reason I feel like you're going to see Eric Masterson pop up is with the changes to Tiny, and now they're not a free carry anymore, and that they will cause a -1 penalty. Henry, while nice, is not the best enhancement in the game. And I know some of you will say, like, what? Henry, not the best enhancement? Why is that, Edward? Real quick. Eric Masterson has the twice favored by Odin trait. And it says, when Eric Masterson would be KO'd by an opponent's attack, you may instead choose to replace him with either TMT Thor or number 18 Thor or TMT number 18 Thunderstrike. You want to use Thunderstrike. Just letting you know. If you do, roll a d6 and increase the result by the damage dealt to Eric Masterson. That would KO him. The replacement character begins on click number 1, but is then immediately dealt that amount of damage as unavoidable damage. So let's just say your opponent deals 4 damage to a top click Eric Masterson. So you would say, all right, well, I want to, you're going to KO him, so I want to replace him with Thunderstrike. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 3, you're going to subtract a 3, you're going to have 1 left, and let's just say you roll a 3. So your total unavoidable damage will be 4. Okay? Then you would show up on click 5 of Thunderstrike. Now I'm jumping to Thunderstrike, not necessarily say for a review, but just for this example. And so now you would be on sidestep, 10 attack, 18 defense, 3 damage with combat reflexes and toughness. Now, again, nothing is stopping you from healing this character. This is not your new starting line. Okay? So, overall, I think that this is a good thing. Because it gives you uses of other figures. It encourages you to buy without forcing you to buy. And it links to high rarity without forcing high rarity to be mandatory in every situation. It's giving you a low point option and a high point option. Now, again, if you look at the, uncommon Thor, which is a lot more accessible, yeah, you're coming in, if you're on click 5, you're on 10 attack phasing. 10 movement phasing, 9 attack, 16 defense, toughness, and outwit. It's not the hotness, but you're still in the game. Okay, but now you've opened up the situation where your opponent can score 75 points. And it's up to you to decide, like, what do you want to do? In not every situation it's optimal to promote. So I'm just going to tell you, like, this is a good piece, but this is also a skill piece. Then you also have the Inspiring Courage for Immortal. You have Perplex as a power action, because this is Perplex as power, and may target a friendly character of 75 points or more within 3 squares. So you don't have a super Perplex. You could choose to power action and Perplex up your own defense for whatever reason. You might be in a defend bubble. But again, going back to what I said before about the tactic of the Green Lantern tank, this is perfect because your Green Lantern tank is most likely going to be more than 75 points. And now you have enhancement, then you Perplex up their attack. So if you really look at it, Eric Masterson is offering potentially, +1 attack, +1 damage, or +1 defense, +1 damage, +1 range, +1 damage. Like, there's so many things that Eric Masterson offers that I really gotta say, like, he's probably one of the new destabilizer support figures. He is a destabilizer support figure. Now, again, I know some folks are listening, whether you're on the West Coast in Cali or on the East Coast in New Jersey, you're going to be like, Edward, Dark Logos, man, I don't see how I'm going to incorporate, Eric Masterson into, any of my play. He only has Avengers keyword. I don't think he's that good overall. I like Henry because Henry can phase, and get into position and do all this other stuff. And I'm going to come back and tell you, look at that power action Perplex with the enhancement for your cost. There is nothing like that in modern age right now. Like, for the cost, please hear me clearly. And so when you look at all your advantages, the ability to promote, the power action perplex, the enhancement, the low point cost, I gotta recommend him. He is a game changer. It's not like you can play 15 Eric Mastersons and pray to God that they all promote or something. You can't do that. That's not a good strategy. But what you can do is look at them as very, very good support that potentially in middle to end game can transform into okay secondary and third tier attackers. And if you have any support on your field, they can turn into the secondaries definitely can automatically go up to primary attackers. So that's just my viewpoint on it. So let's keep moving on. I like Executioner just for the fact if he's playing the Blood Axe. If he's not playing the Blood Axe, I don't like Executioner. I'm just going to be honest. I like Hogan at 60 points because I feel at 60 points with his weapon attack, the knob mace, and just for reference, the knob mace, I probably skipped it. Yep, there it is. The knob mace does, when this character hits an opposing character with a close attack, modify the hit character's attack by -2. I think that's good control. I just do. And I think that this is something that it offers the average person access to start fighting colossals. And I don't mean like colossal retaliators. I mean like normal colossals in big point games. Because a lot of these effects, once applied to a Galactus, you took a lot of steam out of Galactus. You lowered his attack by 2. Which means he went from a 13 attack to an 11, a 12 attack to a 10. So I feel, Hogan at low points has a reason to be played. At extremely high point games because you get his weapon for free. At lower point games, I could see him used as backup, but that's about it. So let's keep going. Let's look at Throg, and he's rare. Now, when you add his hammer into this, which the Frognair is actually pretty good because here's the thing: Frognair lets you turn tiny. It gives you a tiny symbol, but you're still equipped with the item. And then when this character occupies water terrain, modify its attack value by attack and defense by +1. Now, with the new changes to the swim ability, it gives you +1 defense when in water terrain, added up from range. And then on top of that, you being tiny now gives you also +1 defense from range. So if Throg is in water, he is functionally a 19 defense from range. He has energy shield deflection for 45 points. And I know some people would be like, I don't know. But you also are getting +1 attack because of the hammer. So you are a 5 move sidestep with an 11 attack and a 2 damage. But let's go into his damage power. Field leader of the Pet Avengers. You can use Perplex. When Throg uses it to target a character with the animal or Pet Avengers keyword, he may modify that combat value except damage by +2 instead. So, what Throg can do, he can come in, and he can't perplex, and this is one thing I want to make clear. When he it just says when he uses to target a character with the animal or Pet Avengers keyword. Okay, and this is a huge deal. He says he may modify a combat value except damage by +2. He can still just use Perplex normally and increase his own damage by +1. because that word may is in there. But he can't increase his damage by +2. So he can be 11 attack and 3 damage. If he goes and picks up a light, now he's 11 attack, 4 damage. So for 45 points, that's pretty good. He's coming in 5 clicks deep. And I feel for A, his cost, B, everything that he gets, coming to the table with, his object, he is rather strong. Now, the disadvantage that I would come back in and say, it's like, of course, you're approaching that point range where, yes, you could probably get another good supportish character for that point range, which actually there's no is. You can. But depending on what you're doing, Throg can be a nice disruption because he's one of the few characters that I feel that if you pair him up with like an 18 defend and approach on a water map, and I specifically am setting this up, and I know this is most optimal, he is going to be really hard to kill. Just from base stats. I would also say is that, yes, he is a theme team specific type character. You can play him on non-specific theme teams, but getting that map bonus is huge. It is just really huge. And so I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. Next up is Iron Rocket Man. I know some people might not like him because his dial is short for the points. He's 5 clicks for 75 points. But when we start looking at a lot of things that he can do, number one, he has improved targeting, ignores characters. This is very useful for his prop. Number two, he has Psychic Blast with Running Shot in a 7 range. That's above average, the average for your prop range. It's about average for your Psychic Blast range. He has the ability to replace with another Iron Man or Rocket Raccoon, which is, that doesn't really matter because if you were already going to do it, you were already going to do it. Then you have the Ultimate Strategist. You get probability control. Once per turn, when an opposing character within range and line of fire would move, you may choose the first square that character moves into. And this allows you to use Rocket as a lockdown mechanic. And I know some folks will be like, well, what am I doing with that, Dark Logos? Well, if you have, let's just say, a flash, you see the flash, you know for sure. When this flash moves, it's coming straight for your guy that's about to be KO'd. But you have a plasticity character that's nearby, but not quite close enough to base the flash. All right. Well, what you can do is say, all right, I have this plasticity character, and I can get them really, really close, but not close enough. So I can say, like, I'm within 7 range of that flash. When it takes its first move forward, instead of going around to the left where it would completely avoid my plasticity character, it'll go around to the right. Okay? Now, this can do 2 things. Either A, it's going to base my plasticity character, which again, they can, attack my plasticity character, back away. Or I can create a situation where my opponent would go back 1 square and then maybe not have the movement to get to my weakened character. So there are a couple of cool little interactions that you can do, or even, if a flash or something is in the wrong spot on some of these new maps, like, oh, there's an open area. Yeah, flash, you're gonna fall in there. You're gonna fall in that open area because you moved. So I think that there's some finesse with this figure, but I think we need to actually take a step back and look at him a little closely. I don't think he's going to get watch listed. I don't think he's going to get errated. I just think that he's going to come up and sneak up on people, and then there's going to be problems. Balder, again, primarily Balder is for the weapon. That's it. There's no other reason for it. He's not bad, but he's not great. I really wouldn't use him outside of his weapon. So, All right, let's keep going. Now, I know some people will say, but hey, Dark Logos, there's Destroyer. And it's like Destroyer's really not that good. It's not that good. And I know some of you are going to say, but Dark Logos, what about Odin the Destroyer? Isn't he better? And I would say, yeah, and Sealed. I got wrecked by one last night. I got wrecked hard. But at the other end of it, I would also say he's not that good. He's not that good. So, from my perspective, is there anything that you can do to make Odin better? Not really. He's already coming in at 10 clicks. Up front at 230. His pulse wave is great. His ability to be like, doop-de-doo, look at me, I'm doing multiple actions and all the other jazz. That's great too. But I don't think that he's high-level meta. I just don't. He doesn't have the attributes to be. And they made sure not to give him pulse wave at his lower point dial, which is a main thing that's going to balance him out. Now, if you do see one, be mindful that Odin can be TK'd now. I know some people will forget that. Yeah, Odin can be TK'd now. So that's a big deal. All right. Let's talk about another disruptor game changer, Tyrannus. And since I'm only at Tyrannus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this episode after Tyrannus. Actually, you know what? I'll finish out the rares. And then we'll end up this part 1. All right, so Tyrannus, you got to look at Tyrannus in perspective to a bunch of things. Number one, you're paying 65 points for a lot of clicks. I do mean a lot of clicks. 7 clicks for 65 points. You're also getting the Tyrannoids, which realistically are crap. The Tyrannoids are crap. You don't really care about the Tyrannoids yet. But here's why. Let's read them off. He says, prepare my army at the beginning of the game. Generate 2 Tyrannoid bystanders. Power, action, generate a Tyrannoid bystander token. Okay, a Subterranean Empire. At the beginning of your turn, if Tyrannus has 2 action tokens, generate a Tyrannoid bystander. So, he perpetually makes Tyrannoids. Yes, he perpetually makes Tyrannoids. And he starts with 2. Then you have Flame of Life, which is his movement power here. Mind control with a range value of 6. When Tyrannus uses it and hits after action resolve, deal 1 penetrating damage to his target and heal Tyrannus 1 click. Meh, doesn't really matter that much up 99.9% of the time. Because if you're doing mind control, something has gone severely wrong. Just being honest. Alright, Deviant Technology. Now you get this up at the beginning. Deviant Technology, Perplex. But only to target Tyrannoid bystanders. When Tyrannus uses it, he can use improved targeting, ignores characters, and modifies the same combat value on all friendly Tyrannoid bystanders within range and line of fire. Now note, this would have to be in the range of Perplex because he has 0 range. So this is a 6 range Perplex aura. Now, why is this good? Now we can go and look at Tyrannoids. Now again, 5 movement plasticity, 8 attack, 14 defense, 1 damage. So functionally, Tyrannoids aren't coming in and ruining the place by, wrecking stuff. They're rather weak. And perplexing up damage many times isn't going to do much unless you, in some cases, crit hit. Now, you might say, Dark Logos, dude, man, you on this stuff. Why? Why are we here? Why are we looking at this guy? No one's looking at this guy. Why are we looking at this guy? And here's why. You can perpetually make a Pog a turn. That is better than any Ant-Man. Now, I know some of you would say, but hey, Dark Logos, the Ant-Mans were able to produce ants that actually could do something. Yes, you are right. Now we have to reassess how we're using the Tyranids. The Tyranoids. And I feel that A in number one. So yeah, A1. Steak sauce for everybody. First off, we can use them for Mastermind Father. 2, we can use them for zoning capability. 3, we can use them to turn the teleport. I was about to say round table. Those are your primary things. But we can also start looking at these interactions in combination with like General Lane, where all of a sudden I've got 3 outwits that are just going off. And what can my opponent do? Oh, very little. You can even go so far as to say, like, hey, look at this Green Lantern power, this Green Lantern tank, and I have, Green Lanterns carrying up 8 figures, dropping off Tyranoids adjacent to their opponents, because I can't get that first initial attack off, and now I have something to tie you up and force you to attack before you can get to my Green Lantern, giving me a turn to, like, do other things. And so when I functionally look at a perpetual Pog making machine, it has to be something to be noted. Now, how do you rank Tyrannus, who comes in at 65 points, versus Loki, who comes in at 75 points? And the truth of the matter is, they functionally do the same thing, except Tyrannus you're able to control when a Tyrannoid comes out. You can't control when a Loki clone comes out. And that's a big deal. Now note, the Loki clones can actually hurt you. The Tyrannoids just annoy you. And even if you perplex up the Tyrannoid's defense, it doesn't do much. Like, I hate to say it, the only thing that the perplex is good for is to perplex up their movement so that they can get into position better. That's it. That's really it. And maybe some Hail Marys on characters without damage reduction. That's it. But like I said, when you start layering it, I think there's a bunch of great elements for us to look at with the Tyranoids. All right, next is Zarko the Tomorrow Man. He is going to be great for like the next 3 months. And the main reason I feel like he's going to be great for the next 3 months is really simple. Everybody wants to play freaking bazillion Asgardians. Let's be honest. Everybody's going to be playing Asgardians, and having an infinite line of fire to prob an Asgardian is going to be worth its weight in gold. So, for right now, get yourself a Zarko the Tomorrow Man and make people cry. Next up is Ajax. Now, I have Ajax for a couple of reasons. Number one, Ajax is going to be possibly the new Mr. Nobody after Mr. Nobody retires. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that he's not a bad dial. He's not like a boss dial. He's not bad. Number three, the speaker to Celestials, he gets probability control. Ajax may use it a second time during your turn if the first is used to target a character with the Eternal keyword. So you can target yourself when you attack, and then you can use it another time. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's look at Volstagg. I like Volstagg. Volstagg at 90, and also I don't like Volstagg at 60. I think Volstagg at 60 is horrible. But Volstagg at 90, he's great. Unfortunately, Volstagg is always carrying meat in the other hand. And I really wish they would stop doing this with Volstagg. We know you're fat, Volstagg. You own up to that, but you can do something better with yourself. You can. And I feel like he shouldn't always be holding the chicken wing, like or whatever leg of something. I think it's it's just sort of bad. It makes him like a laughing stock. So, all right, let's talk about Wrecker. Enchanted Crowbar is a thing. It is a huge thing. It is a game-changing thing. It allows you to have exploit weakness and say to Invincible, yo, homie, you don't have that. And to Impervious, yo, homie, you don't have that. And potentially wreck, pun intended, major figures. And to this, I say, yes, we need that right now. This provides a direct counter to Jakeem and several other figures. Now, here's the other end of this. When you combine Wrecker the figure with his crowbar and everything else, you have a lump sum total of okay. And why do I say that? You have the Masters of Evil. You don't have any other sustain given by your weapon. You don't have any way of healing back up. And yes, you can constantly keep, popping people in the mouth with the crowbar. But it really doesn't do that much. Now, let's look at the special power. We're going to wreck it, boys. And he gets Empower Leadership, and when Wrecker uses leadership and succeeds after resolution, each friendly character with the Wrecking Crew keyword within 3 squares may destroy a wall or a square of blocking terrain adjacent to themselves. Okay, yay. So he functionally can bust down some walls for free. That is great. And they have improved movement, it ignores blocking and destroys blocking as the character moves through it. But that's just it. As they move through it, it doesn't ignore it if you just blow up walls. Now, I know some people will come back and say, but hey, man, can't Dark Logos, can we use this to blow up Barrier? Yes, you can, but at 125 points, I would rather find other characters. So, really, you're going to get Wrecker to get his magical enchanted crowbar of thuggery, and so that you can go and beat Jakeem, which I think there's a hate crime somewhere like that, I guess. Anyway. All right, so this is part 1. I'm going to go into part 2 after the break. If you're not ready to digest part 2, I fully understand. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, you need to get a second job to play for this heroclix crack. And you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. And, let me know what you think of this Thor set. How much money did you spend? And also, how much blood did you donate to get what you needed? You can buy a shirt from the link below, or you can donate directly to the show on the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. All right, thank you very much, and I will see you in part 2.